Sup guys, I'm Kosh, and today I will help you out with StarRupture beginner's guide, so the new players will be able to build those huge factories without significant issues. So if you're confused, this guide will help you out to streamline the basics and get a hold of the game. The tutorial in the game helps you out a lot, but it doesn't explain everything, like how to make the proper production lines, how to connect things together, and how everything works. So the basics are pretty simple. You make ore extractors, connect them to your smelters, and then use the resources. Then the production chain becomes more and more complicated, and that's where the trouble begins. So basically, my tip for you will be to plan ahead, the first one, the most important one, so you won't have to redo everything later. Because at first you might want to build everything very compactly, really close to your base, so you won't have to run around too much, but this will end badly, because over here we have our production line that leads to this area, and then it's getting stuck into our habitat, and like this area isn't that great for that construction, it's not that even and everything. So I had to redo everything on this side and follow our production line all the way to that valley, and you will need, trust me, a lot of space to make it work. So let me give you a few pointers how to start out. Early on, you won't have some of the machines and buildings that we have over here, but the idea is sort of the same. I prefer to build my factory linear, so we will have one input area, let's say here, and the production line will go forward in sort of a line with the side directions where we have the outputs of the resources and additional production areas. So for starters, we have the storage build here that accepts the resources from the mines, that allows you to have lower downtime. So if the building will require the resources, after the break they will go straight from this building instead of going all the way to the mine. Also, it will buffer the production chain, so if you will need a little bit more of stuff at some point, there will be storage instead of like being clogged on this delivery line. After that, the resources go to the smelters that will produce intermediate resources. That's called, I think, titanium something. Titanium bars, very scientific, right? And basically between every production building and the next building, I have one storage depot that will allow me to have at least 400 of those resources stored. We will use it in case we would like to deliver them to the research station to get the new recipes. After that, we connect that storage depot to the next tier of production building, usually it's fabricator for us, and then produce things that we need. And that's exactly how my factory is working here. As you can see, we have loads of storage buildings, and I split the production areas with lines. So first we have the smelters over here that refine the basic resources, then we have the first tier of resources being stored, then we have the first tier of production, then we have the storage, then second tier of production, then the storage, then third tier of production, and so on. So this will allow you to scale your factory with less effort. It won't be effortlessly because it's still complex. We have crazy spaghetti chains here over here, but yeah, it's way easier to manage and understand when and where everything is going. The main goal of your production chain is always orbital cargo launcher. That will allow you to upgrade the resources for specific factions, and each faction requires different resources. Early on it's pretty easy, you just deliver the bars, get XP, and you have the same type of bars for most of the factions, so it's really easy to manage, and the production line can be chaotic and simple, and enjoy that, because later on it will get harder and harder. Some level 2 requirements have the bars as well, but they reward you with less points afterwards. So it's still more efficient to use the higher tier resources for the delivery. That will allow you to improve your relations with corporations easier. But somewhere around level 5, things will get hazy, and you will have different specific resources for various factions, so you won't be able to deliver the same kind of stuff that everyone else accepts. And at that point, you would like to have proper production lines so you can dedicate different areas for different resources. And basically, as you build your production line, you will extend it. The main goal of your production line is to deliver to orbital cargo launcher. So tune it based on the requirements that your factions have here and send it away. As you can see, for the most cases, you can have several delivery buildings for one production building, because output here is faster than the delivery speed, so that will allow you to level up your factions way easier. Now let's talk a little bit about planning your factory, because you can just build stuff randomly. It will not work. Each building and each rail has its own capacity. We can see the capacity of the rails over here. It's written here. 120 items per minute and 240, twice as that for rail version 2. We can see the capacity over here. For the normal rail level 1, it's 120 items per minute. For level 2, it's 240. And what you want to do is to actually calculate the requirements of resources per minute for various buildings. Let's take a look at the smelter. It's smelting the titanium ore into titanium bar at the rate of 2 resources per 2 seconds, which is 60 resources per second, which means that one rail can support only 2 of those smelters. We have 3 of those here because, well, I can afford that, but in perfect world, you don't want to do that. I made it because later on, if we need more resources, we can upgrade this rail to the higher tier. That will improve the delivery speed and it will satisfy all of those buildings. So now we know that our output capacity of the smelter is 60 titanium bars per minute. And then we have the production. Now for fabricators, it's the same thing, depending on what do you produce. Let's take a look at the recipes. Titanium sheets per 2 seconds, same as those bars. But if we'll take a look at the titanium beam, for example, it's 1 item per 3 seconds, which means 20 items per minute. So that means that one of the smelters can support 3 of those fabricators. And that's what we did over here. We created 3 fabricators that produce titanium beams that are all being delivered into the same storage, because why not? So by evaluating the production ratios and comparing them, you can actually make perfect factory. And that's the main point of the game, balancing out your production. Because if it won't be good, some resources will be missing and then you'll have to redo everything and it will be really hard. So when planning your factory, make sure that you take those into account, and maybe it's a good idea to leave some space between the buildings in case if you will need to fortify your production line with extra smelters or extra resources input. For the current tier of production, my tip for you will be building titanium on the left side, wolfram in the middle, and calcium on the right side of your production line. Because those resources later on will have to be connected together in order to produce something. So in the end, you will have to mix and match a lot of various resources, and the only way to do that properly is having space and knowing where everything is. Now let's talk about Ruptur Activity. I don't want to spoil the game to you, but soon you will figure out that when you have that warning, you really want to get back to your base. The thing is, it's not always an option, because you might be far away from your base, or maybe you forgot, and you will be outside. Dying isn't that bad, but if you die, you will lose 25% of your resources. But what do you do if you are in the wild, you have the wave warning, and you are not ready, you don't have the resources, or you're far from your base? Well, probably you will die, but there is an option. You can mine the meteorite for meteorite core, make the base core, and then construct the habitat. We don't do it in time, but yeah. You can make a habitat, get into it, and save yourself over there. For now, we will die. And I want to see how many resources we will lose, because we have 1k basic materials and 1 meteorite in the inventory. So let's face our destiny of fire. Instant death. And that isn't that bad. You can survive that. You can go back and recover your loot, but try to avoid being killed, because you will still lose some of the resources and it's not that good. After the eruption, you have to wait for a little bit before you can get out, and after some time your buildings will cool down and they will start producing their stuff again. So that there will be a small break. There we go. Now we can go out, and the buildings are overheated. They don't work that well, and our body should be somewhere here. You can see your dead body on the map by this mark, and that is our poor dead body. Let's see what do we get. Yes, we lost 250 of our basic building materials. That's 25% of the resources. So try not to do that. Once again, if you caught outside with the warning and you know or not sure that you can get back home, make a base core. It's pretty simple. Get some building materials with you at all times. Build a habitat. Add the airlock. And you're good to go. That's everything that you need to stay safe. Then wait until the outside is safe. Leave the airlock and you can dismantle it and take it back with you. Don't forget that by using the building materials, you can build various things in your habitats, even the temporary ones. So if you are scouting the area somewhere far away, you can build their recipe station and analyzing station and put the resources that you don't need, like enemy pieces and that kind of stuff, for the data points and clean up your inventory. And also put the stuff that you want to put into the recipe station over there. For example, harvested food that you got while you were wandering around. Another good reason why you would like to have those storage depots everywhere for each production site, because if you would like to make something in your item printer in the base, you can use those storage areas in order to get the resources, deliver them back, and build whatever you need instead of running around and trying to find them elsewhere. You can actually go as far as deliver the resources straight to your base into the chest here, especially the one that you need the most. But I don't think it's the most needed thing. Speaking of fires and everything, if you drop items on the ground before the eruption of sun, it will destroy them. So items that are left behind during that fire will be destroyed. I will leave those spoilers for the end of the video. So if you want to spoil yourself, there will be spoiler alert in the end with tips that you will need and help you to understand the game a little bit. Now let's talk about different rails and different connection styles, because all this stuff can get quite messy and really hard to understand. So let's say we want to deliver titanium from this building or from anything to those 4 buildings. There are several ways how you can do that. First one, the most accessible early on, is using the rail connectors. They are pretty cool, but they are a bit limited in terms of upgradability. So you can build one next to every entry to the building. Then you connect your input to the building, connect them sideways, so they will deliver resources to each other, just like that, and then connect the rails to each of those. So it will work, but it's not the most efficient way later on, because it has limited upgradability and limited throughput. So if you want to use that, that's good for like low quantity deliveries, let's put it like that. So what happens if you connect those to the rail? You will have issues because the delivery will be split between those, so it won't be that fast, and that won't allow you to satisfy the requirements of several buildings, I think. So in order to make it right, there is a different way. So this is the basic way that you can do early on, because you don't have the second way of connecting rails, which is the rail modulator 3. So instead of this, we can make a different type of connection. We can use those rail modulators to split the output. So we will connect one here, one here, one here. Let's remove this one for now, so we will see how it works, like fully saturated. Then one over here, and then connect them to the building. That will be more efficient. Still not great, because this will allow us to get only that amount of resources through, but once you get rail 2, you can upgrade it later to make it more efficient. So bam, and it will just double our outputs right here, and you can see how it saturated the buildings way better than before. So I prefer this way of delivering resources instead of doing that, but it depends on how many resources you want to deliver and how fast you want them to be here. We also have the multi-rail here that will allow us to connect 3 drone rails simultaneously, and later we'll have the 5 times the amount. So you will have various options how you can properly connect things, and this thing will allow us to transport more resources over the longer distances, just in case if you want that. There are several uses for this. Either this or delivering resources inside of your base, like your supply line, when you have not enough space, when you can't build several of those lines like we did here. And of course, you don't really need to use the storage and make those splits. Sometimes you can just use the outputs out of this building and connect them directly to the building. That will work as well. That will split the load, but one storage has only 4 connection slots. One will be input and up to 3 outputs, while this one will allow you to deliver resources up to unlimited amount of buildings. It will depend on your imagination and the speed of your rails. Now let's talk a little bit about the power. You will need loads of power in the game, and the problem with the power in this game, unlike other factory games, that once you will not have enough power, if you don't generate enough, all your factory will shut down straight away. So you would like to make sure that you have enough production, and early on you have the solar generator for that, and yeah, you will need a lot of those, because our requirements for power are crazy. And what you can do is you can try the empty space near your base where you can build that. I decided to place them here, but as you can see, we have an issue. We have some solar panels out there in the faraway area. Why? Because our core can support only a limited amount of buildings, and I don't want to have all of them in this area because I won't be able to extend my factory because of that. Right now, our core overheat level at 800 out of 1000, and once you reach the limit, you won't be able to build anything anymore. Different buildings add different heat to our core, and solar generators adds 5, and they can pretty fast make it impossible to build more stuff. Let's actually try and see what will happen if we have too many. We hit the overheat limit, and now we're over it. I think something bad will happen. I'm not sure exactly. Let's see. I think what happens that your buildings will overheat over time, or after the StarRupture, they will not cool down, and you will have to cool them down manually. In any case, it's not a good thing to do, so keep your core temperature low. Moreover, the higher your heat level, the longer it will take for your building to cool down after the rupture. So maintaining it is pretty crazy. Early on, the only way for you is to build those solar panels somewhere else. So I just created one core out there and built them there instead. And we have the calcite delivery from there, so we connected them with one of the buildings. Let me show you. There we go. We made connection to one of the rail poles over here that transfers the electricity from the base over here, and made stairs up here to our solar panel area. So they will all be connected to that, and that transfer electricity back to the base without any heat. So this area got 189 heat, and none of that is in our base. So we can get rid of the solar panels there entirely and build them somewhere else. Another option for the power is wind turbine, which will be available later, and it's way more efficient. It costs only 10 times more, but it produces 20 times more power, and it increases the heat only 4 times higher. So this one is way better than solar panels, and you can use it. It's not beginner friendly though, so you will need to do a lot of research to get there. Later on, you will be able to get base core amplifier that will increase the base core capacity by 20, and yeah, keep it in mind that you can use it later, but early on, not yet. And that is another reason why we build linear factory. You can see those lines that are the borders of our cores, and we created one right there, which will be right on the edge of the previous core. So now our factory that goes over here will be able to use the heat of this area instead of heat of the base. So that will offload some heat out of your main base out into the other areas. And it's also a really good idea to place your cores that way so they will not intersect with each other too much, because buildings placed in the intersected areas will load each of the cores at the same time. Same thing with the cooling buildings. When you place them within the range of several cores, they will all benefit from them. Although keep in mind that you can upgrade your base core. That will cost you some resources, quite a lot actually. Not beginner friendly again, but it will increase the cooling capacity to 2.5k, which is way more than the basic amount. But keep in mind that upgrading the base core will draw the aliens' attention, so you will have to fight really hard for that. I haven't done it myself yet, so it's not beginner friendly anyway. Now let's talk a bit about building height. This is important, especially for the rails, because they can go over the buildings, they can go over each other, and that spaghetti madness can be properly maintained. When you are placing a building, any of them, it's by default trying to align to terrain, which is not optimal from time to time, because sometimes you want your base to be even, like I do over here. In order to increase the height of the building, you can use the mouse wheel, but when you move around a little bit too much, it can go back to the lower area, so you don't want that. In order to do that, you can select the required height, like over here, and then use one of the locks. You have the Z level lock, which is vertical lock, by pressing Y. That way, as you move the building around, it will be at the same height. Then there is a T, which is lock location. That way you can move it up and down and move the camera around without building moving around as well, so you can take a closer look at how you want to place it. And another area is left out, vertical snap. that will try to be at the same level as the building that are being snapped to. You can see that icon over here. That means that this building will be at the same level as the building platform is being snapped to. It's not always working because some buildings will end up in the mountain, and you can limit it to some extent, but not too much. So you can't really build the building inside of the... Oh, you can. Inside of the stone. So let's try to build another solar panel right in the stone. Lock Y level. We want to put it further here. Wow, surprisingly it works, but it looks ugly as hell. But yeah, you can use that in order to decide the height of the building, and it's even more important if you want to place them at the very ground level. So you can see those yellow squares, it's where the basic area. You can see those yellow outlines. That means that this area is intersecting with the terrain. So using too much of that might be troublesome, so you can place building underground, but that will allow you to build the buildings on the stone, for example. So we want to build something here, but it's too high. I don't like it. We can lower the height a little bit and place it on the ground instead, and it will look way better than floating up in the air. Now let's talk about some quality of life stuff. Basically, you would like to move around your base comfortably. It's not as easy because the buildings, a lot of them are floating in the air on those platforms and stuff, and it's getting harder and harder to make it right. Of course, the best and the first decision is to build platforms around, but they are only horizontal, so small height difference might make it harder, but they're still essential. The problem with the platforms, once they go a bit too far away to the side, they will need support. And without the support, they will not be constructed. There we go. Building not stable because it's too far away from the supported column. You can fix that by building the pillar support or supported platform. Although it has to be based on the ground. So if you want to support this area, you lock location with T, then you go down, place this platform down there, but it still has a very limited height, so you can't make it all the way up. At least I haven't found a way to do that. But you can place pillar support on top of the existing things, and that will work. So it can be connected on this side. Interesting, I had no idea. So you can make pillars like that instead and build your platforms around it or through it. That will allow you to build your platforms for longer without connecting to anything. Sometimes it bugs out though, so if you can't build any further platforms and it says you still need support, make sure to delete the platform that's right next to the pillar and then start the platforms again, and you can keep building them just like in Minecraft. But this is a bit tedious way, and it's really good when you want to make something stable. Later on, you will unlock extendable walkway. This thing is a lifesaver. Basically, if you want to make a bridge of sorts between different areas, like all the way over there, you can connect it to the one side of the platform and to another one, and bam, you get the walkway straight away that you can move around, and it's so much easier to construct those, and they have a very good length, so that will allow you to connect various of your high scraping areas with the bridges that will allow you to move around them easier. Although the drawback, you can't connect platforms to it or something, so it will not support making things around it. There are two types of stairs. First one is normal stairs. Its angle is pretty steep, and it will allow you to connect it all the way down, but using those stairs, you can connect the platform at the bottom level. That will allow you to build stuff here and move electricity between those as well. We have shallow stairs as well, which is not so much of a difference height. I think it's one platform difference. That will allow you to connect the areas that are not so vertically different. And yeah, this is a pretty cool way to connect different platforms to run around. Pretty convenient. But in some cases, you've built something very high and you don't want to make the stairs because you're lazy. You can build a ladder that will allow you to climb the things vertically and access the area. Not that convenient as the platforms and ladders, but still good to go. You can actually build ladders right on top of your habitat, so climb them as your towers and stay on top of the world. There we go, we got some sort of balcony here with a nice view on our base. Speaking of habitats, do you know that you can make several habitats on top of each other? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 stories is the biggest one, at least so far. And we can make the ladder all the way to the top, climb it, and be be in a really good position. Now let's talk about research a little bit. First of all, you don't want to use your research points to boost your corporation status points because it will be too expensive and you won't be able to get far anyway. I would say that you would like to try to focus on specific things in the corporation research, but in reality, you would like to progress them all as fast as possible. They all have very useful stuff, and you will need most of the things that they offer anyway. So yeah, the exception would be level 6 clever robotics for rail level 2 that will allow you to transfer more resources through the rails, which is, I think, a more important thing. What's more important is the recipe station. Here, you will need to do a lot of recipes for your smelter, furnace, fabricator, and stuff like that, and that will require resources that you have. And sometimes the blueprints as well. The resources are easy. Basically, that's why we have the storage containers for each step of production, so we can go there, pick up the resources, and bring them here. But for the blueprints, you gotta go and explore the map in order to find them. I don't want to spoil it to you right now where you can find them, but that will require some exploration, and it's really cool. Food recipes, I actually checked them, and I don't think that they are pretty useful for the beginners because we have some of those over here, but based on the effects and stats, the normal things that will just give you more calories and more hydration are inefficient. Using raw food is easier and more forgiving, so you don't really need to cook something unless you really want to. The good things here start in an area where you get the bonuses and buffs, like doubles natural energy regeneration. This is pretty nice, right? Increase energy limit by 100%, you can run for longer. Triples natural energy regeneration, lasts for 30 minutes, so there are some pretty cool bonuses here, but outside of that, I don't think that those things are worth it, especially for the normal and cheap stuff. Moreover, in order to unlock those recipes, you will need to spend a lot of your resources and the research points, data points. On the other hand, if you have the OCD like I do over here, you would like to unlock everything. And yeah, the problem with the food so far, I haven't found a way to actually grow it. So in order to get the food, you gotta get outside and touch the grass, which is not good for factory type games because we want to grow our own food instead of harvesting it. Oh yeah, another good research is building drone. That thing is a lifesaver. Instead of running around and pointing your finger here and there, you can press C and fly with your drone. That will allow you to have the better look at the area and build more comfortably. Stress-free, really convenient, but it has a very limited range around your character, so it won't be able to fly too far away, so keep in mind that it's hovering around you. Now let's go to a bit of bonus tips. First of all, the chests. They are pretty good to store your resources, and you can change the name on them. That will help you if you play with the teammates or you don't have the good memory, so people will know where to put what and won't mess up your storage. That's pretty efficient and will help you not to mess everything up. Next tips will be a bit of a spoiler, so keep in mind if you don't want them, leave and write in the comments if the tips were useful for you or not. First things first, the blueprints. You really need them, and the easiest way to get them is going to those outposts that are left behind. You can scavenge the area. There are some puzzled buildings that you can't get into really easily, so you can get inside of those and you will find chests with the blueprints. I scouted most of them, but you can see them on the map with the building icon, and well, you can just see them because they can be seen on the horizon easily. Second, underground caves. I tried to break in with the grenades, with the guns and everything, until I realized that you need to wait for the rupture. When the sun burns everything down here, the vines disappear and you can get inside of the caves. Inside you will find some nice resources that will be useful for you. Nothing really fancy and special, but those are rare, so try to get inside of them when you can. Also, you will be able to find some glowing red stones after the rupture. We can see them here now. You can collect those. Those are really nice. They will be used to upgrade your core and can be turned in for a lot of science. If you're worried about the enemies, don't worry about them too much. The basic enemies that attack you are not that nasty. I never seen attack on the base without prior warning, and usually it's when you upgrade something or touch something. The enemies outside, not that hostile at all. You can encounter some heavier resistance if you go into the bases or if you venture far away from your base. When I went to the area over here, I got scared, so things can get nastier far away from the base, but if you're close to your base, don't worry, nothing bad will happen most likely. You can use your mining laser to get rid of the enemies, your harvester, or you can get the pistol really fast, and that will help you to get rid of the enemies, no problem. And the ammo for this pistol is extremely cheap. Although the better weapon that you can use for most enemies is a rifle. I like it a lot, but it consumes a bit more ammo, and make sure that you bring a lot of those with you when you're gonna go fight enemies. The area on the left of your base is covered with radiation that you can't penetrate, at least yet. So going into that will get you killed, so be careful. If you get close to it, you will get a notification of radiation. You will still have some time to run away, but not much. One last tip about the resources: if you're wondering how calcite area looks like, this is it. Those white deposits that can be mined, this is where you get the calcite by building your miners, and you can deliver it from here to your base or make the local production line. For the rest of the resources like helium-3 and other type of resources, you will have to get away from your base a bit further away and find it somewhere there. I haven't done that yet, but I haven't found any helium-3 deposits nearby. And yeah, guys, that's it for this guide. I hope it was useful for you, because I burned myself to death for the sake of... Oh yeah, that dude died first. Nice. And yeah, guys, I hope this guide was useful for you. If you have any extra tips for the beginners, share them down below in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to promote it in YouTube algorithm. And check out the video description for additional links, more Rupture guides and playthrough. And thank you very much for watching. It's been Kosh. Have a good one. Bye.